In addition to the fees and you talked about the manual, what's the thing that people should be looking out for the most?
I think making sure that you do the work up front to know what you're really looking at potentially saving. And I kind of go back to the horror story that I talked about, where somebody came in, pitched a very large savings, and the people didn't understand their business well enough to know that there's no way those numbers actually exist inside of their business. And so to me, that's the biggest concern as people get excited about foreign trade zone, because I do think it's a great opportunity, and I really think there's some benefits that exist. But I certainly think that you need to make sure that you do the work on the front end before you start down the road, or else you're going to spend some money and then realize it's not worth it, and you're not going to recoup that money like you thought you were. So, reach out to an expert. I would prefer it to be us, but even if it's not, reach out to an expert.
The Foreign Trade Zone Board.
Yeah. You can reach out to the Foreign Trade Zone Board. There are firms that specifically just do foreign trade zone consulting. So reach out to somebody who's done this before, understands what to look for, looks at, how much does your inventory turn in a year? What kind of duties are we talking about? How many lines are we talking about? And get somebody that knows more about foreign trade zone involved in some of that analysis portion up front. Because once someone gets involved and understands, they can normally pretty quickly tell you, hey, this doesn't make sense. You guys probably don't need to go any farther forward because the savings just isn't there. Or they might be able to look at it and say, hey, we really need to dive into this. I think there's a big amount of savings on the table.
So Adam, something that always gets me is a lot of customs brokers don't talk about foreign trade zones to their clients. Can you explain why?
Our fees go down. And it's because of that scenario we talked about, 1,000 customs entries compared to 52. There are other things. 214s, they're just not as expensive as an entry. There's a lot less information required, and I'm only doing 52 customs entries, so there's just not as many fees associated. And that's a terrible thing to say, but it's the facts, and that's how that works. Is normally in our experience, though, do our fees go down? Yes, but by the time you get through all of the 214s, most people end up having to do an extra entry or two every. We end up getting into a scenario where you about take a wash on your customs brokerage fees. But the reason a lot of people, assuming you're paying an outside party, the reason a lot of people don't is there's a lot of customers that once they decide to go into a foreign trade zone, want to pull the 214 process, that entrance into the zone in-house. And that's really where then you see fees. But if you're paying a service provider to do the whole thing, I would say you're probably going to be a wash.